Alan has left this legacy of writing. He's left a legacy of thoughts. And I think your work in sort of discovering what character he was in this town of Altrincham, you understand that he's left some kind of impact. And now when you're readdressing this, a lot of people are reflecting on what Alan was saying, what he was doing, and it brings it back to life. That period of time has sort of helped it make us believe that this is a sustainable thing that he's written. The stuff that he's written is sustainable, and it's very current.
Every time Nigel and I have a conversation about theatre, I end up thinking we should have recorded it. So finally, here we are recording it. I'm Tamara Forrest-Smith, and today I have a pleasure of having a conversation with Nigel Hurvey, a creative producer and arts leader with over 25 years of experience of bringing powerful stories to life across theatre, music, international performance, mainly in Sweden, but also in the United Kingdom. He has collaborated with organizations including the London Sinfonietta, Folkoperan, and the Swedish Wind Ensemble. His work also includes performances for the BBC Proms at the Royal Albert Hall. We're going to explore the urgency to bring stories from page to stage. Why is it that some stories almost demand to be performed in the live theatre?
For me, my life started out, basically, I really wanted to be a professional footballer, which is my thing. But then an accident ended that career, so I sort of fell back on music. I've been playing instruments since I was a child, so then I started really getting into music, and I won a scholarship. So I studied music in Sweden and became a musician. And I worked for 15 years as a musician, and then had another accident, which changed my direction once again. But already in those 15 years, I'd already been looking at performance. So I'd started sort of looking at theatre, and at the academy, we did a lot of stuff where musicians ended up on stage. So I had that theatre bite from the very beginning as well. So my next challenge was to find a way of not being a musician anymore, but still being within the creative arts. So I studied theatre, and I ended up sort of mixing and matching all my experiences with theatre and music. Mainly to do with narrative, telling stories. That's where I really come from. I really feel that we've lost the ability to tell stories now a bit. And I've always felt that I like to deal with theatre things, stories that resonate, something where you feel that you're going to take the audience on a journey which will resonate with them, and also that will ask questions of them in the end. I always feel that when you start working with something, you need a very strong structure. And I sort of look at my structure through my tableau method, which is like finding an introduction, a development, a kind of a high point climax, a reaction to that, and a resolution within the story. And I try to find that structure, try to find where in the story these certain elements are happening. So every show you see, there's always an introduction of where we are, who we are, who the people are. But then it's not interesting until something happens. So you need to find what these people are doing, where they're doing it, why they're doing it. And when they do that, something then happens which throws the questions out, which brings the story to its kind of climax. And from that, the people react to that. And the way they react brings you to the end of the story, which is the resolution. So it's a kind of a strict way of looking at things, but then also opens up a lot of doors, because it opens up for conversations and discussions, because you understand that when you're in the introduction of the story, it's very important that we're presenting the people, who they are and what they're doing in a way that people understand. then when the development, you have to see, you see what they're doing. And when you get to the high point, when it gets to that point, that's where everything changes, and we need to understand that.
Originally, when we connected, I was looking evolve the story. My late husband, Alan Forrest-Smith, left into the world of theater. I was very deliberate to choose out of all the work that I wanted to present this particular piece of work, to have the courage to tell it in a way that is truthful, doesn't dilute the message, make us aware that we're all part of the bigger picture and we all have the role to play.
What it comes down to is when you see the news on the TV, or you see adverts about chaos in the world, and they're wanting our help, with this chaos, you feel a bit overwhelmed, because it's a distance. A lot of the news you hear is not on your doorstep, as it were. But the truth of the matter is, every conversation we have, everything we do in our lives has an effect, an impact. And there are very small things we can do in our lives to actually change other people's lives. We've spoke about the project and the idea that we have for it. And I think the idea we have for it, the way we're going to put this performance together, this production together, I think that is going to make such an impact on people. Sometimes you're hearing stories, or you're hearing things across from the other side of the world, and you can't believe that is going on. But the other aspect of life at the moment is everything we see on our computer screens, on our phones. What can we believe?
That's right. Who's telling the truth?
Who is telling the truth? What is the truth? And I think that has to come from a realization of everybody's own lives, to understand what the truth is. That we all have our own truths, but in some way those truths are connected. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that it has to do with connecting the dots, but also connecting with the life around you, understanding what part you have in the whole, the bigger picture. I mean, the one thing I've been thinking about when we've been talking about this project, and the thing is that Alan has left this legacy of writing.
Yeah.
He's left a legacy of thoughts. And when I've done my productions, a lot of my productions, we've had this kind of question and answer session after the show. And I know myself that when I go to see things, there are immediate questions that are raised. But when I've seen something and I reflect on it, maybe a day later, something comes up.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is going on here. I think because Alan's left this kind of legacy, and I think your work in sort of discovering what character he was in this town of Altrincham, you understand that he's left some kind of impact. And now when you're readdressing this, I think you're finding that a lot of people are reflecting on what Alan was saying, what he was doing, and it brings it back to life. And I think that period of time has sort of helped it make us believe that this is a sustainable thing that he's written. The stuff that he's written is sustainable, and it's very current.
Timely and timeless.
Yeah, timely and timeless. From when we started to now, it's given me a lot of time to reflect and think about what's going on in the world. And I think that's the key thing, that I think with a production like this, we can impact people in the actual theatre room.
Yeah.
Then there's going to be the discussions afterwards, which I think is going to be interesting. And they're the things that we need to sustain, obviously.
Yeah. It's easy to kind of underestimate that even though the global events might be taking place, they really kind of filter down, and they have this ability to disengage even smaller communities. So I think anything that has the potential to bring those smaller communities together and create that impact for the positive.
I'm nowhere unless I leave a legacy. I'm nowhere unless there are people coming up behind me to carry on the work within the arts. So for me, it's always been about leaving some kind of feeling that the arts, in the funding in the arts, everything is so forced to fitting people into small boxes. But I'd rather see the expansion.
Yeah.
And the expansion can only be through thoughts of accepting and understanding and just opening up possibilities for other people.
I think people should be very excited about the project that we have. Why should people be excited about this?
Yeah, I think it's a lot to do. I think our very first conversation,
Yeah.
and I think when we got back to things, and I visited you in at your home, we talked about the fact that it's Alan's voice, it's Alan's writing, and when we sat down and discussed things, we obviously understood that Alan had had an impact.
That's
and there are a lot of people who have been moved or touched or impacted by his writings and who he was. So therefore, it becomes kind of exciting to feel that kind of small nucleus of impact can turn into something else, which we can open up to a broader audience. And I think what we've been discussing and the ideas we have is a very exciting and impactful piece of theatre. It will open up a Pandora box of questions, but always there'll be a lot of questions that we need to search answers for. And I think just having people a part of that conversation, a part of that idea that we can actually introduce Alan's work and who he was, and these stories that he's told through a theatrical, dramatic piece where people can sit down and watch it and then either decide they want to be part of the change. We don't have to see the results all the time. We just have to feel that something has happened. I think it's going to be very, very strong and very impactful.
I look forward to sharing that more as it develops. But thank you so much for taking time, and look forward to further announcements.